Go ahead.
Living nightmare. The observer observes. You can't do that. So what do you want to know?
Oh, I want to know. Or you can ask questions.
Right.
Tell me what it's like having a business in dairy.
Great.
Why?
In short, no, I love it.
Or long.
So it works on all kinds of levels.
Yeah,
So,
like you already told me a lot.
Yeah.
But just pretend we never met.
All right.
And you tell me again. Don't. Because this is for like 8 different people at my law firm.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastically creative city. It's a city on the cusp of change, which makes it an incredibly exciting place. It's a city that is embracing a new future in a way that certainly feels to me fairly unique in Western Europe. That's for sure. Because of its history, I think it's there's a kind of release of sort of positive energy there, which I just find I had actually no idea how brilliant it would be to work there. People are just so completely open to the world, the wider world. Just in terms of sort of practical terms, into having my film company there.
Yeah.
I've got the most unbelievably motivated workforce that you would ever believe, because there's a whole generation that grew up without those kind of opportunities to sort of get involved in the kind of network production we make.
Yeah.
And so when that opportunity is on hand, it's just like, well, it's a stunning kind of thing. In terms of a place to, the broader context in which to set a business up, right across the board, the city have been amazingly supportive to the Alley Cats. On
the Alley Cats is your production
company. On every single level. I spent the first couple of years not taking any kind of subsidy. Because I kind of slightly felt I had a point to prove about being in Derry. That you're not a Civil War carpetbagger turning up in town. Whether that was necessary or not, I don't know. But I didn't take the money.
That was simply because you're an English person.
Well, I'm not.
We're not.
I am and I'm not. It's my mum's from Northern Ireland, etc.
But you didn't want to be stigmatised as someone coming in and taking government funds.
Well, within the context of our business, because there are advantages to being in Northern Ireland in terms of shows you get commissioned and things like that. Certainly with the BBC and Channel 4, arguably you get a more receptive ear if you're based in Northern Ireland. So there is. On a certain level, that kind of translating into hard production. Also, there are things about Northern Ireland that go against you, because there will always be commissioners that can't be asked to get on a plane, to kind of view a film or see what you're doing. So, how much advantage there is questionable. But
that's in the film context.
Yeah, it's a film context. But just sort of getting back to the bigger point about
it wouldn't be any more to your advantage to be in New York or to be in India. I mean, the distance issues you're talking about relate to you specifically in your company, not to us.
No, for sure.
Because we would be in Derry, we would be tremendously closer to these clients. Unlike ever before.
It's like certainly I've found the education authorities fantastically helpful. People that deal with apprenticeship and training, and those kind of really helpful. And just right across the board, people want you to be there.
Yeah.
So. It's just a great environment to work in, because you then start to feel that you are part of something bigger than just the usual, sometimes dreary, cynical decisions about where is the best place to start a business. you're actually, you know, part of something that is a bit bigger than yourself. Yeah, you know, it is the movement of a whole city towards a new future, and that will permeate. You know, if you set up, that will permeate to everybody you deal with. You know, not just your workforce, but you know the taxi drivers that come and pick your staff up and take them places, the staff that work at the airport. You know, the people that might come around and, you know, fix your plumbing, paint your walls, you know, right across the board. People, you know, the overwhelming majority of people are just so excited about, you know, sort of economic, creative, social renewal.
Do you feel, I think you already said, the talent pool is incredible, so you don't feel at the same time you're compromising on the talent. You're far from it, right?
No, not at all. It's, you know, Northern Ireland, you know, which, as I'm sure you all know, falls under the jurisdiction of the UK, you know, where its heart is kind of, you know, slightly more variable, as it were, but has got the best education in the UK. You know, the schools are utterly fantastic. Tertiary education looks to me very, very good.
And you're right next to University of Ulster.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and being next to University of Ulster, I mean, there's an example of the kind of cooperation you get. You know, I was telling you last time I saw you, just on very small issues. We had an issue with broadband, you know, dumping big films in a hurry. You know, we were filming all the bands for Radio 1. BBC Radio 1 came to town, had a massive concert in the summer called Big Weekend, which, you know, amazing kind of headline acts turn up. You know, Macklemore was there, Robbie Williams was there, you know.
Florence and the Machine.
Yeah, you know, loads of big names.
Calvin Harris.
And like we had very fast turnarounds filming bands for their introducing stages. You know, we had to cut overnight, get it. And our broadband couldn't cope. And you know, it is literally. I was next door to Radio Foyle. I was waiting to see them. And I said, "What's your broadband like?" And they go, "Why don't you go over the road to McGee University? You know, university like the professor."
McGee's University of Ulster.
Yeah. You know, just immediately. Just bring stuff over, dump it down the line. Yeah, you know. Because they've got, you know, the absolutely kind of super fast connections, you know, and you get that right across the city. I mean, I've been making a series at the moment involving, it's a 10-part series for BBC Northern Ireland, CBBC, about kids and music, and getting involved in that, and just the cooperation right across, you know, people recording studios and people like that, just come round. You know, it's not like how big a fee can we stiff you for. Right. You know, these are kind of, you know, recording studios that are not wealthy, but oh no, it sounds brilliant. You know, need to get this off the ground, and you know, the kind of expectation is that we all thrive together. Yeah, you know, so when I do well, everyone else does well when they do. You know, it's kind of quite a mutual thing.
There was something you were talking about last time. About it related to the forward-looking aspect of Derry, and also looking toward America and the rest of the world. Like, how does Derry have a special? You mentioned Derry had a special attitude towards America that perhaps you wouldn't find as much in Belfast.
Yeah, no question. Well, it's the Irish thing, isn't it? But you know, the great thing about Derry, I think, also is that it isn't quite Ireland either. Yeah, you know, Derry is very much a place of itself, but. You know, just amongst, you know, the kids that work for me, virtually all of them have got relatives, you know, particularly Eastern Seaboard in the States, you know, Boston, New York, and they will regularly, you know, they will look to America. You know, they look to America and their tastes of, you know, the kind of films and television they love to consume. They'll go there for their holidays. You know, a really regular holiday spot for, you know, the lads who work for me is Vegas. They'll just fly to Vegas.
People coming back from.
What's that?
Do you see people coming back from the US to Derry now that?
No, not as yet. Yeah, but that's the great. For me, that's the great beauty. I would say. You know, I was saying to you last time. Now is the moment. Yeah, you know, because you know, there is no question that Derry has hit its tipping point, even this summer. You know, I can feel it in the city. You know, individual events have changed the city. like the All Ireland Floor coming to Derry, where 420,000 people, that's 1 in 8 people in the whole of Ireland, came to the floor. And the kind of, the sense of, confidence and stuff around the city. And you can absolutely see it in the 2 years on there, just in terms of a more sophisticated infrastructure, where I go running every morning just down the road from my flat, 2 posh new restaurants just opening up right now. The whole place is absolutely mushrooming. So, the time to come in is now. I kind of think 6 months, you're slightly missing the curve. The place is absolutely taken off now. So in answer to the Americans coming back, no, I haven't seen directly in my business any great evidence of that. But it is.
If there were jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Jobs and power showers, but it is. It's a city that it's a port city. It was the base during the Second World War. It was the major base for all the convoys going to the States, etc., etc. It's always had a strong American connection, but on every level, it looks as much to the States as it does to London. And it also looks a bit to Dublin as well. So what's great about it is it feels to me Derry takes the best of what's around it. I find the Republic can be quite inward-looking. And
the Republic of Ireland.
And a lot of the Derry kids that I work with would say that. Dublin, lovely city, but can be slightly suffocating, inward-looking. Derry seems to just kind of sit there, seemingly on the edge, but actually I think it's the most vital and vibrant city in Ireland. No question. It's, and it is an extraordinary state of openness. Everyone wants the place to do well.
Is the city of Derry paying you to say any of this?
No, not at all. no, not at all.
They will after they see this.
It is a wonderful place to work. And I think anyone who, if you had American returnees, as it were, or people who took the plunge from England, Ireland, England, Scotland, moved over or whatever, I think they would be staggered at actually what an easy place it is to settle and be part of it, because everyone's curious, everyone's open, everyone's interested. That's not, there are pockets of Derry that are, I think it's got one of the third most deprived pocket in Europe. Where our second office is, which,
Is that the Cregan or Bogside?
It's just down from the Cregan. It's a little district. The Brandywell's called.
This is the interviewer injecting himself into the interview, but I lived in the Cregan. I love the Cregan.
Yeah.
So that's the most deprived part.
No, it's just down. It's technically it's the Brandywell, just down from the
Brandywell.
But.
That's where Dennis lived.
So there would be some people that would come and be, I would say, not see beyond, these quite poor terraced houses. And for a long time, Derry felt like a place with a smaller invisible middle class, if any, a very working class city or whatever. But that's what makes it work to a degree. It's almost it's almost like a classless place, which kind of really makes it work. It's very unlike England, and everyone just mucks in, and that's the egalitarianism of it. It's so in that sense, it embodies, I think, many of the things that are attractive about America,
right?
And the things that work in America.
One of the interesting things that people told me, and maybe you were one of them, is that precisely because of all the bombing and devastation of the Troubles, where the large employers left, and not just because of that, the shirt manufacturing left all the Western countries and went to the East and all. Because of that, if you want to make a living in Derry and not just live on the dole, you need to set up your own business.
Yeah.
So there's an entrepreneurial spirit the people are telling me about it and I'm seeing, that there's not an attitude of I'm entitled to a job.
Oh yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, quite the opposite. Every family, pretty much, unless they work in retail, which is only a fraction, they have to set up their own businesses. I mean, set up their own retail or some other kind of business. Am I right?
Yeah, I think there's elements of that. Absolutely.
Or form a band.
Yeah, yeah.
When I saw your documentary
Yeah.
on don't tell me, on the Undertones, one of my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah,
bands, one of the band people said, well, there wasn't any jobs and there wasn't anything to do, so we formed a band.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be one of the best bands in rock history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Precisely because there wasn't anything else to do.
Yeah.
So that was the culture where just kids on the street, I'm not saying that never happened anywhere in the world where kids on the street formed a band.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just the only option was to form a band. It wasn't should I go to law school or form a band.
Yeah, and yeah, and I also think that because things have been quite tough or whatever, there's no great expectation of things being comfortable or easy or any sense of entitlement. Yeah, people just put their heads down and work. Yeah. I mean, we've been filming with a 16-year-old. What triggered that thought for me is he's just formed a band and he's come to London and stuff, and just basically rocked up in London with no money, age 16. To the point where it kind of worried us, really. But
None of your sons?
No,
Sorry.
no, just someone.
Your children are from London and they're being raised in London.
No, just someone we're working with.
Gotcha.
But just basically rocked up with no cash, and at 16,
Sounds like me.
Thinks that's normal. They're really, really used to we'll make it work. I'll earn some cash.
That's what I did in New York, except they showed up with $35.
Yeah.
I was 16.
It was probably 35 more than this lad Luke we filmed with, but
Tell me about a little bit about the distinction between Belfast and Derry, because some people in my firm have asked Russell, why would you go to Derry? Belfast is closer to London, and other firms have chosen Belfast. Why would you choose Derry over Belfast?
Well, it's like, for me, there is no choice. But Belfast it's a great city. It's got a more sophisticated infrastructure. It's got some world-class attractions, etc., etc. However, it still does feel to me like a city that is really caught up in its past. No question. It feels like a northern British city. I go to Belfast and I can smell Glasgow, for instance. And it sits there and it looks over the water. Fundamentally at Scotland. The thing I always feel about Belfast, and I know the city well because my mum is from Belfast. I used to go there as a kid, so I feel I can talk about it with sort of say some possibly unpleasant things about it, with some entitlement, as it were. But it's like, say during the Troubles, Belfast, it always felt to me had an added nasty factor. Things got obviously deeply unpleasant in Derry, but certainly Derry historically didn't have the sectarian killing that went on in Belfast.
It was more the bombing, and less the actual torturing. And
it's just very simple. Is by and large it was IRA versus army and police.
Exactly.
And in Belfast it was basically civilians getting murdered, getting shot
by each other,
and all that stuff. So it feels to me Belfast still lives under that shadow, whereas Derry has just largely put that behind, and also to a degree, I think you got to look at the two dominant communities. It feels to me that just statistically, the dominant community in Belfast is broadly what you might describe as loyalist Protestant, and with the changes that have come about with the peace process. There are certain sections of that community are feeling, more beleaguered than they have in the past, as evidenced by flag protests and the riots this summer and all that sort of stuff, which, you know, creates always a certain kind of undercurrent of tension, in my view. Yeah, you know, so some of those East Belfast estates feel to me, you know, completely intractable places and quite inward-looking. You know, whereas Derry, yeah, you know, obviously, you know, not without, you know, some legacy of the Troubles, but it doesn't impinge in the same way. Absolutely doesn't impinge.
Now, you live in London. Your wife and kids, or your children, have been raised in London. Had they not been so ensconced in London with their friends and their school and everything, would you consider Derry a place to raise a family, including your own?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only reason I'm still in London and not moving them is, you know, simply my kids are Londoners. Right. That's who they are. You know, I moved around a fair amount as a kid, and you know, I've worked very hard with them to get roots down. You know, so it's all their mates. It's you know, they are Londoners completely in outlook. That's who they are. So I don't want to pull them out of school.
And just something I know that's on Mike's mind. Would it be fair to say that Joy Division has influenced every aspect of Western culture, from politics to fashion to attitude to thought processes to, of course, music, design, architecture? Would you agree with that?
No, possibly overstating it. But what I do think is I think Bono should write a massive royalties check to you know, all the missing millions from U2 should you know, should go to Hooky and Bernie and the lads, you know, because no Joy Division, no U2, that's for sure. It's,
want to follow up with that or any other questions you have? Mike, on his bio, I dared him to put on his bio on our website.
We
have a little quote, you know, that each attorney has a little quote about themselves. Usually, like, "What a great attorney," Channel 4. So he had
influenced by Joy Division.
Great. I made a film about it. It's like, you know, which. You know, what a privilege. I would have done it for nothing. You know, actually, I would have done it for nothing. So, you know, because also it's that weird cusp. It was that weird cusp where they hadn't reformed and they were too close to their past for anyone to kind of give it any of that sort of chin-stroking analysis, as it were. And, you know, they were kind of all just at a bit of a loose end. And it was, I almost felt I was privileged to get... it was almost like being the family therapist, you know, because I rocked up and I interviewed all of them.
You got to know Ian Curtis?
No. He was well dead by then, by the time I made the film. But, you know, I'm talking about New Order.
Right before New Order.
I'm talking about New Order.
How did that access come about? Where was the connection made?
I'm going to sign on.